This is Nadine O here live on Facebook, and I'm joined with Barbara Kigozi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for those who will be watching this later. How are you doing today, Barbara?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You know, we have a lot going on. We want to get right into it. Why are we talking today? Well, there's a march coming up.
Absolutely. The Women's March on January 20th.
Yes, and I think this is just exciting times. We're going to do it again. We're going to mark our feet in the sand and get our messages out.
All right.
And I know we were talking about the march and a lot of things going on today. And I thought, wow, we need to share this discussion with other folks out there. But first, if you could just say a little bit about who you are and what you're doing and why you're marching.
Well, I wanted to sort of talk about the upcoming Women's March on January 20th, which is the 1 year anniversary of the first one. And I was part of that march, and which was right after the elections of 2016. And, you know, being part of that march and in Philadelphia and going down to the parkway and being among all these women who were there for, you know, different issues, shared issues, was such an electrifying moment for me, and just extremely energizing. And the issues that we are all passionate about were in this space that we were sharing. And so, you know, after the march, a couple of days later, I was thinking, well, you know, it was great to get together in that sort of environment where we all had shared issues that we cared about. What happens next? And so that was, you know, became something I needed to think about. And, you know, for those who saw our earlier video, most people know by now that I'm going back to graduate school for public policy. And that is my contribution to how I want to affect change. And I'm hoping that we will all go to the march this time around and with our own issues and walk away with some engagement to take back to our own communities and see how we could affect change. I know I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. It's always so inspiring seeing a group of people unified on whether it is one theme or more than one theme, a cause, and things of that nature. And so watching it on tape later and seeing the numbers, seeing the images, women with the pink hats, you know,
Right,
and it was electrifying.
right.
And, you know, it made me ask the question, you know, when we march, what I know we're marching for a cause,
right?
Whatever it is that we believe in, and we want our voices heard.
Correct.
But I'm understanding what we do next from that standpoint, and getting beyond just the experience of unifying.
Exactly. And I think I had, you know, some difficulty in sort of like, well, why do we continue to march if we're not going to see results from that? And it's something that I've sort of like battled with for the last year. And until recently, when I really truly believe that from that march, women became more engaged in the process. We saw in the recent elections how women went out, ran for office, and won. It was a diverse group of women that won seats that they ran for. You know, first openly transgender woman won, the first Asian American woman won, the Sikh American won their seat. And so these were all, in a way, groundbreaking. And that movement is continuing, and hopefully will continue and affect the midterm elections coming up in 2018. So I'm quite excited that the Women's March has created this sort of movement, and has given women a space to be able to run for office and win. And there are a lot of organizations that are engaged in getting women to run for office, like Emerge America, Emily's List. And so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the march as well.
Yes, for a minute, we just lost Barbara, and I hope she was able to get back to us. I was showing some images from the past March, and, it was just really amazing talking with Barbara about her experience at the march. I was actually working that day, and I'm hoping to get out to the march this year. With everything going on, I just think it's important for us as women, as a collective, as people of color, to support each other and our concerns. And not only that, but to educate ourselves. There is a lot of things happening, and it's easy to get caught up in the fervor and the anger and division, that we don't see what really is going on. Now, I want to bring Barbara back. For some reason, we lost her. I'm going to pop her back up so we can talk about the concerns of educating ourselves. Here we go. Hello, Barbara. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I just started tiptoeing through. I was showing some photos that you supplied to me, and
right.
These images, were they shot by you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that people knew that those images, where the source came from. I was talking about, with everything going on, we could get angry about he said, she said, and
right.
Who is this and what kind of person there are. But there is a change in the air that's happening, some positive and some not so positive.
Right.
And I think it's real and important to arm ourselves, and to prepare for the things that are happening, that are coming up. And that's why I think the Women's March is really important. I think it's also important to educate ourselves, and it would be good to talk about how we can do that, as well as supporting others that have decided to step up and have a more active role in politics, such as you. For me, I think it's really important to support each other. And sometimes, if it's someone we don't know, we think it's just like a distant thing. We're not as connected. Right. But I'm sitting here talking to you. I know you. We've known each other for years, and for me, I want other people to know your passion and why you think it is important to not just get involved, but to educate yourself. And that henceforth, we did the video where we were discussing your path to public policy. But there are a lot of people taking that path.
Well, I mean, I have just chosen to take that path.
Mm-hmm.
to get me to be engaged in the process of policy. Because,
Mm-hmm.
again, it starts with sort of what inspires you as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
We all have different things that inspire us, and we either go after them or we don't, or become part of an organization that will get us to where we need to be.
Mm-hmm.
I have chosen public policy because I'm hoping that when we march, and sort of bring voice to issues that we're passionate about, that the end goal is to, in fact, either elect public officials who are going to push our agenda, or become part of that process where we, as individuals, can affect good policies to better people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we can all get to the same place by using different avenues. I think marches are great to get people together with like minds. I would hope that at the end of the day, we go back to our communities and get engaged in bettering our communities, and obviously, ultimately, bettering the society in which we all live.
Mm-hmm.
And so, issues of voting is obviously very important. Every vote counts. And to be able to also know your representatives within your community and hold them accountable for things you want to see in your community. So, I believe that, all politics is local, that we started our communities and then sort of move that on a much larger platform. Is that local elections are absolutely as important, if not more important than the presidential elections. We as women are going to be very sought after for the midterm election, and I believe that there will be victory
Mm-hmm.
between now and November of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are pissed off enough at this
Mm-hmm.
point in the craziness that's happening all around us.
Mm-hmm.
Is absolutely disgraceful,
Mm-hmm.
in that we elect officials to go to Washington and represent us, and we're seeing sort of a lack of that. And we as constituents should be holding our representative responsible in continuing this madness, in my opinion, that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So the Women's March is something that I'm looking forward to being part of once again. And I believe this time there'll be results that are actually quite tangible.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I apologize. We have a little bit of breakup on the video with you, Barbara. It's probably the cell phone signal. But if there, oh, that's much better. Um, what would you say are three things every citizen should do right now?
Register to vote. I don't know that. I mean, I think once you register to vote, obviously you now have a voice and get to know your representatives within your community, and
Mm-hmm.
be
Mm-hmm.
engaged and be informed.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that's the only way you would be able to affect change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, sitting on the sidelines is so yesterday, as far as
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about for those that may feel overwhelmed with all the details, like um, I want to say how they redistrict certain areas so that
Right.
Republicans can gain a foothold
Right.
in terms of
Right. Well, I mean, you're obviously referring to gerrymandering, but I mean, some of these things are just overwhelming to be engaged in. I think what I would advise is that pick something that really matters to you and focus on that.
mm-hmm,
We are not going to be able to do everything. I mean, my platform is so vast that I need to just sort of minimize it and say these are the two things or the three things why I march, why I'm engaged. And so trying to sort of dissect everything that, affects us in our lives is not where I would start.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is being informed about all those other things certainly is a good thing. But, your personal agenda is to pick a couple of things, that matter to you. And, you could start off in your community. It doesn't have to be a national platform. And, that's sort of that would be my advice.
Yes. Okay, so we have, we didn't talk about Martin Luther King's birthday. Some would say that it's sort of become more washed down. I'm not trying to, create any kind of friction.
Right.
I mean, it's great to honor Martin Luther King Jr. and his work,
right,
and try to keep that going. But we have that's happening on Monday,
tomorrow,
which people can get involved,
right,
do something. But I think that should be something we do every day.
Right. I mean, a day of service in honor of Martin Luther King is something that you could get engaged and volunteer in your community. Again, obviously, this is something we should do, more than just on Martin Luther King's birthdays, to remain engaged in our communities. And I think everything that we've been talking about, everything I'm talking about here, certainly comes from, leaderships of people like Martin Luther King. Because without a lot of people, the civil rights movement wouldn't have happened. So while the icon of that has been Martin Luther King, there were very many people behind that movement that made it happen, and which is why we are here to be able to speak openly, because of people who came before us.
Well, great. We did talk longer than we had expected, but I think this was well needed.
Absolutely.
So we're putting a call out to all women of color, young and old, to get out there and march.
Absolutely.
March January the 20th.
January 20th.
And is it the 20th and 21st that they're advertising?
The 20th.
Just the 20th.
Philadelphia, right. I mean, all these marches are going to be going on all over the country. I believe there's a kickoff in Nevada for the annual anniversary of the march. And basically the theme will be, getting people to register to vote, getting ready for the 2018 midterm elections.
So keeping in mind, yes, get out there in March. And, I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out. I'm reading and watching here, so apologies. To Carlton Gibbons, who's a great father. And I hope he will take his daughter out to the Women's March and be proud and show her that she's not alone. Right, and also Joy Rising. Harpo, thank you for your support. And for all those who have given us a thumbs up, we appreciate your support, and we hope you will join us again in future broadcasts.
Absolutely.
This is Nadine O with Barbara Kigozi. Have a wonderful and blessed week coming up.
Great. And thank you.
Get out there and march and register to vote.
Right. March with a purpose.
March with a purpose. Thank you so much.
Thank you.